Isaac Paredes is next on our review sheet. Let's go.
You are Locked On Cubs, your daily Chicago Cubs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Cubs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Alongside Sam Olber, I'm Matt Cozy. Sam and I are lifelong fans, taking our passion into a discussion with you on all things Cubs. Thank you for being part of the show and making us your first listen today. And the best way you can help us grow the show is to listen every day, like the video, and comment anything below. Today's episode is presented by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Isaac Paredes is next up on a review sheet from the 2024 season. Paredes was acquired near the trade deadline from the Rays for Christopher Morel and Hunter Biggie. Paredes slashed 238, 346, 393. That's for the entire year between both teams, with 19 home runs and 80 runs batted in. That was a power decrease after hitting 31 homers in 23 and 20 homers in just 111 games in 22. And while Paredes was an all-star selection this year, he hit 123 from July 1st to the trade, as most of his damage was done the first 90 games. He ended up hitting 223 his 52 games with the Cubs. Sam, your thoughts on Isaac Paredes?
First of all, Matt, how are you?
Good.
Good. I really am happy right now. I haven't really, it's been a busy Monday. I haven't looked in the mirror much, and I'm just really happy with where my hair is at today.
Yeah, it's good.
This is the first time I've seen it. Yeah, I'm just easing into it. It's the off season. I don't want to just rush in and talk about Isaac Paredes. So excuse me if that doesn't just get me jumping for joy on a Monday afternoon.
It's a bad
day.
day.
Look. Isaac Paredes was absolutely horrendous with the Cubs. What else do you want me to say?
Well, his last 18 games, he heated up. 338 average.
Yeah, his last 18 games, he was better. But his overall numbers, as you just mentioned, with the Cubs, he hit 223 with a 325 on base and a 307 slug. Let me get some.
He didn't really slug at all this year, especially on the north side.
Let me give you some context. His slug with the Cubs was 307. Nick Madrigal's 344 for his career. That's some context. For how little he slugged but as a positive, if you were to grade his overall season, I think it'd be in the C range.
Absolutely.
If you grade his season with the Cubs, it's obviously a flunk. But the hope is that was just a down stretch for him. And, like you said, it was heading that way before the trade. I really don't think it was very trade related. My concern with Isaac Paredes is his style of play. The way he hits is not conducive to what Wrigley Field gives. And you think about a condition, if the Cubs were so fortunate to play in October next year, cold October night, wind blowing in, it really seems like he's a ballpark dependent guy. He's a decent defender. What I love about him is that he gives a good, solid, competitive at bat. Even though he did bat only 223 this year for the Cubs, his quality of at bat was still above average on the team. And he competes. But, I don't know what to say. Those numbers were, am I wrong? I mean, as a Cub, were they not unacceptable?
They were unacceptable, and we'll do some opposition research in a few minutes with those two dudes on the Rays. But I was shocked by the trade. I thought it was a bold decision by Jed Hoyer, and I think initially after the news broke, I also did have excitement just about, okay, here's a new player on our team. Mm-hmm. Basically the opposite of the one they traded in Christopher Morel. And while he accepts his walks, Paredes does, he doesn't strike out much. He has good bat to ball skills. I really focused on his home run output, the last 2-3 seasons. And that was not basically non-existent. It was non-existent in the blue and red. So I look at this, twofold. One, okay, yeah, I would give him a D, his time with the Cubs, a C for the season, whatever.
Not an F with the Cubs in those 52 games.
I would give him like a D minus.
Okay.
All
right.
And my second thing is, if he returns in 2025, he must have an impact.
Yeah.
I do think trading two of the three supposed known everyday players to be available. That was Horner. That was Bush. We graded last week. If you didn't listen or watch that, go back and do that. It's worth your time. And then Paredes. But I also think if he returns, Sam, and he's signed through 27, whether it's third, first, or part of the rotation at DH or all three, he has to have an impact. I get why a case could be made of him as like a role guy, but that wasn't what was presented to me, I felt. I don't think he's just a role guy, and I do think he would be better if the Cubs had better, more impactful talent, but I think he needs to sit at a singular level. He needs to have an impact too for the Cubs to be good.
Couldn't agree more. I think you're right. I'd like to redo my grade. I just looked. He only played 52 games. I'm not going to give him an F. I'm going to give him a D.
Okay.
52 games is not enough for an F. Just not enough games.
Right.
I'm going to give him a D. I think you're right.
With that being said, his slide, though, was 70, 75 games. That's a lot.
That's a lot of games. Correct. I agree with everything you said. Is it fair to say that he's on kind of a short leash to begin the year? Meaning,
I think so.
Meaning, let's say, when I say a short leash, you give him a month. And because remember, the Cubs aren't playing a lot at Wrigley in April. And he's a notoriously very fast starter, right? So I was looking actually at splits the other day. I mean, this was an extreme case, but he's always been a better hitter early in the year. Is it fair to say, let's say his numbers look kind of like this at the end of April, the Cubs, he'll lose his spot?
Yeah, especially given the price point. MLB Trade Rumors projects his arbitration number to be somewhere between 6 and 7 million.
That's a lot.
While it's a good number, I don't view it as like overbearing though to slide him out.
Oh no. Yeah. I would say if anything,
or to lose his job.
I would say it's the other way around. It's, hey man, like you're getting paid to produce, and if you're not, we got to find someone in here that is.
Right, and it's not
crippling.
It doesn't ruin everything because it's not that expensive.
Yeah, it's not a crippling number. It's not like if Swanson's hitting 170 and it's like, hey, we're stuck with this guy. We're paying him $27 million. Right. But yeah, no, I think Paredes is on my list, and obviously we have a long way to go on my list of keys. Assuming he's on the team next year, he's probably pretty high position player wise. Okay. Because if he is closer to the guy he was the first half, it totally changes the Cubs dynamic, because they were getting nothing from third base before he got there. But then once he got there, it was just more of basically nothing, except it was just, like you said, better at bats, less strikeouts. With the Cubs, he struck out 37 times and only 24 walks, 37 strikeouts. That's when you're that close to even, that means you're seeing the ball really well. That's one of the first things you look at when you're talking about how is a guy seeing the baseball? How many walks does he have? How many strikeouts? If that number is even close to even, that means they see the ball really well. So to your point with him, it's just something that's with the power. And how many balls would you say that he hit? It feels like at least a half dozen where it's like, oop, he gets into that one. And you're like, whoa, that ball did not go anywhere.
Yeah, it's just a routine out.
Yeah, so I don't know. I don't know. He's a really fascinating case.
Yes.
I see why Hoyer made the move. And I think if the Cubs are going to be good this year and he's going to be on the team, he's going to have to be really solid.
Okay. Yeah. I'm connecting with all that. Yeah. It's pretty wild because when he hit the 123 from July 1st to the trade, he walked 20 times and struck out 13.
Right.
Which basically never happens at this level. Never.
No, he is such
There's like literally one or two guys a year that do that.
He's a unicorn hitter. He doesn't strike out a lot. He makes a lot of contact. He doesn't swing at balls typically. He pulls almost literally everything. Like, he's to the point where you have to tell the guy on deck, maybe don't go out on deck, because you might get hit with a foul ball.
Right.
If he pulls.
Well, Seiya did at one point,
and he has such a unique skill set. He's really just a different type of hitter. But as we talked about this when they made the trade, the worst place to hit if you're going to hit most of your home runs in the corners is Wrigley. They have the deepest corners in the league. So it's interesting. But like you said, I think it's a good thing to mention. When you're in the big leagues and you're walking almost as much as you're striking out, you're there. You're competitive. You're seeing the right pitches. It's just a matter of him trying to, hit some balls hard and find the seats,
Absolutely. And then to close the book on this trio of Horner, Bush, and Paredes, I do think trading 2 of the 3 would be really bold, but it could be fruitful too. For example, what does a lineup look like with an all-star level guy at first, Seiya rotating between DH and right with another player of impact, and then maybe you do have wiggle room to put a rookie in Shaw at second. That would be a scenario if Horner and Bush were traded.
Of course.
If Bellinger opts out and they just say, okay, Shaw, and they trade Horner, let's say, okay, Shaw goes to second, Casey goes to right, say is the DH. I mean, do I have to show that lineup? We talked about it for Sunday for Monday. That team will not be projected to win 86.5. It won't.
Well, no, maybe not even 80.
No, absolutely not.
So, yeah, I hear you. I think it's the answer to your question or the answer to your proposition is, okay, what's the value out there for a Paredes, a Horner, or a Bush? Or do the Cubs really like somebody else that they're connected to? And do they, like we talked about the other day with the Castro thing, do you do an indirect trade where you're getting somebody else from elsewhere? I mean, these are all very interesting things and things to follow. I find it interesting. And later in the week, I'd like to talk about this, like the approval rating or Q rating of Cubs players. Yeah. And, I was thinking about that today, and Paredes is probably on the lower end of that because he hasn't been there. But for the most part, all these guys are pretty likable, and they're pretty like, hey, I like him, and hey, he's not bad, because they're not, and that's why they're an 83-win team. But they are missing that level change as we continue to discuss, and maybe trading 1 or 2 of them, you take a step back or 2 steps back on the surface in order to take 3 or 4 steps forward.
Right. And to go with that convo, which I think would be excellent, who's on the billboard, whose jersey's in the top 20.
I'll tell you that I got 2. No, there is. It's Matt F. Cozy and Sam J. Olber should be on the billboard. You're now Locked On Cubs. Welcome to Wrigley. If this team doesn't play well, at least they're going to tell you about it.
It'd be great to have a billboard just with just the logo only. It doesn't even need to say
could it be
else.
A shot from today? Because I usually don't look good on the show.
Sure. Then just some quick opposition research for the Rays. Christopher Morel hit 191 in 49 games, and Hunter Biggie posted a 2.57 ERA with 19 strikeouts and 3 walks in 14 innings. All right, coming up next, could this be a guy that comes up in 2025 and has an impact? Well, he's already impressing in the AFL. Stay tuned. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Whether it's a Cubs game, a comedy show, or a concert, I love going to live events. And now Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets with killer last-minute deals. All in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. The experience of searching for and then buying tickets on Game Time is simple. Plus, Game Time is the only ticketing app that gives you complete peace of mind with your purchase. See the view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code Locked On MLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, create an account and redeem code Locked On MLB for $20 off. What a great deal. Download the Game Time app today. What time is it?
It's game time.
Moises Ballesteros is impressing so far in the Arizona Fall League. The Cubs catching prospect is 7 for 17, 4 games with a homer, double, 6 ribbies. Jonathan Long is the other Cubs hitting prospect down there, and he's 5 for 15 with a homer, double, and 8 RBIs, thanks to a grand slam. Any chance, Sam? First of all, you're gonna catch any of the Arizona Fall League on MLB TV?
I'll watch it at bat or two with Ballesteros. Sure.
I would like to.
I like watching him hit. I think along with Shaw, he's the best hitter in the system, but he's a pure hitter. Go ahead.
Any chance that we see him in the first couple months of the year, whether it's to give them a jolt, whether because Amaya got hurt? What do you think?
I can't answer that because I need to see what they do.
Yeah.
If they're going to go all in, like
Right.
you said, if it's going to be all Casey replaces Bellinger, if Bellinger opts out, whatever, then yes, because I think he's a better pure hitter than a few of the guys that are in the everyday lineup. The problem is he doesn't have a position except catcher, and from what we've heard, he's not nearly ready to play catcher at the big league level.
Right.
And look no further than when the Cubs stole 64 bases against Yasmani Grandal in that game in Pittsburgh. Like, if you're not ready to play catcher, big leaguers are going to, they're doesn't matter how good of a hitter you are, right? And you don't know how to call pitches and things like that. So I think with Ballesteros, I hate to sound like a broken record. I think his bat is major league ready. I do. I think he's ready to hit at the big league level. And I think he has such a unique skill set that nobody really on this team has. Nico Horner's supposed to, which is just bat to ball. He could hit for a higher average. He could really hit. But again, where does he play? And that goes to our first segment. If you could trade a couple of guys, Suzuki, because he's a DH right now. He's a DH. Mm-hmm. He's a major league ready DH. And I don't think you trade a guy that could potentially be a great catcher and hit like that. But if a team that's really desperate for offense, like a Seattle, they could be, begging for a DH like Ballesteros. So what's the value for him? But I like Ballesteros. I don't like him at the level I like Shaw, because just Shaw's ready to play some positions at defensively. But I look at their bats. It's not a big gap. Ballesteros can really hit.
Yeah, and I do think more and more I'm personally warming up to Shaw playing on March 18th in Tokyo. And I think there's a chance that it does happen.
I think so too.
So that could be exciting.
I would go as far as to say it's right now, I would say it's pretty close to like a 50-50. Wow. Like he's legit, man. Unless it's one of those service time things.
If he ropes a double off Ohtani or something.
Yeah.
He's sick.
Yeah. Oh man. Who knows?
All right. Well, that's about 5 months away.
No. Well, by the time the Cubs play the Dodgers, I might be like 6'4".
Right. It feels so far away, right?
Well, it is far away.
No, it is.
It is really far away. I always do it by holidays. We got to get through Halloween. We got to get through Thanksgiving. We got to get through Christmas. Then we got to get through Valentine's Day. And then right after Valentine's Day, usually, I spend it with nobody. But, when you're finished with Valentine's Day, that's when you start thinking Cubs baseball.
Well, and especially because their first spring game is only a few days after that.
Right. And remember, they're going to have an earlier spring this year.
Right, because they're reporting early. So.
Because they got a game, really early. So.
And really early in the day. It's going to be like a 5 a.m. Central start.
I already got my plan.
Okay. Coming up next, I have some Paredes trivia, and I think you have a trivia question as well. Stay tuned.
This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Hey, NFL fans, you could start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. So to get a hunch in the middle of the game, you could check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Matt?
Yep.
I have a bone to pick, and I really hope you support me on this, okay? Illinois plays Michigan this Saturday. It is the 100th anniversary of the Red Grange game and opening at Memorial Stadium. Illinois is 5-1. They're giving 3 points right now to Michigan. Iowa plays at Michigan State. Matt, that's a 6.5 Iowa favorite.
Okay.
Can you explain to me why Illinois, and somebody is smarter than me, they'll explain it to, please, because I know who decides who gets the night games? Because Illinois had to go to Nebraska at night. They had to go to Penn State for the whiteout, and they're hosting Michigan, one of the biggest programs in college football, one of the biggest games of the last 25 years. They have to play in the middle of the day. What do they have to do to get a primetime game? Okay,
That's on CBS, NBC, and Fox.
It's a 2:30 game. Why can't we get the 6:30 NBC slate? We got to go to Eugene. That'll be a night game.
No, it just got announced today. It's at 2:30.
Oh, all right. Well, that's a little bit better then. We should get that game.
No,
should
2:30 in college is typically a prime slot.
I think you have a little bit more of an advantage at night.
Yeah.
You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com, America's #1 sportsbook.
Trivia here to end the show. Isaac Paredes was traded in July 2017 to the Tigers with one other prospect for 2 major leaguers. Who was the other prospect, and who were the 2 major leaguers that the Cubs got?
Was Candelario in that deal?
Yeah, he was the other prospect.
Yeah, and then Justin Wilson came over.
Yep.
And Avila?
That's right. That was quick.
Here's the question for you.
Okay.
I did some research this weekend.
Right.
Matt, the Cubs played 16 series this year versus the NL Central. How many did they win?
4?
5.
Oh.
5-11 in series against the NL Central.
That's horrible.
Folks.
Oh, I actually gave him 1 less. Yikes.
Folks, if you go 9-7, you might be playing right now.
What about 7-9?
Yeah, I mean, they beat Milwaukee at home. They won their first 2, by the way. They started 2-0. They beat Milwaukee at home because remember they didn't play a division game till later on.
That was in May, right?
Yeah, they played Milwaukee at home. They won that. They went to Pittsburgh, took 2 out of 3. That was and then the game they lost was the wild game against Skeens in his debut.
Yeah, that's Saturday.
They lost like 28-25 or something.
Yeah.
Then they went like 2 months without winning another series until they they beat the Cardinals at home, that 3 out of 4. And then they swept Pittsburgh, and then they won the last series of the year, 2 out of 3 against Cincinnati.
That's brutal.
They won 1 series all year against the Reds. 1.
We're going to be better next year.
Yeah, and I don't think they tied any series. I don't think they split. I think they legitimately lost. I think they were 1-4 or 1-3 in series versus the Reds.
Wow. All right. Well, that's end on a high note, they say.
So you're saying 2:30 is a prime slot, so that they're actually doing us a favor, and that you guys aren't. Because I don't know. I just think I'd want to see my team under the lights.
When CBS had the SEC and now they have the Big Ten, 2:30 is higher in the priority of ranking. CBS has one of the first choices.
Okay. All right. I just feel like I'd rather Iowa, Michigan State slot in at 2:30. But I guess what you're saying is CBS probably gets the first choice.
I think so.
They took Illinois, Michigan, and 2:30 is their slot, whereas NBC then got the leftovers.
NBC always has the night slot.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you so much for checking out this edition.
In Penn State, then.
Well, Indiana is Michael 12-0. Locked On Cubs. You give us 20 to 30 minutes. We'll give you all things Cubs with a laugh or 2 along the way. Be sure to hit subscribe on YouTube. Smash the like button for the algorithm and leave a 5-star review on Apple, Spotify, and everywhere you get your podcasts. Fun week of shows coming up. 2 already in the books. Stick with us all off season long. He's Sam Olber. I'm Matt Cozy. This is Locked On Cubs.
See ya.